Hey, welcome to iFlip for Math Mathcast, lesson 19-3, rotations. I'm Mrs. Gooding, and our quote tonight is by Marie Curie. We also call her Madame Curie. She said, "A scientist in his laboratory is not a mere technician. He is also a child confronting natural phenomena that impress him as though they were fairy tales." And I think that's what she means is when you love what you do, it is as fun as reading fairy tales. And I hope that you're starting to enjoy math and enjoy the challenges of math. And it feels more like play than work to you, because a mathematician also should enjoy playing with numbers and playing with math. Our learning goal tonight is to use coordinates and degrees to describe and draw a rotation of a figure. That is Madame Curie with the President of the United States. I think it's always kind of cool to see that these people, even though they were scientists in their lab, they did such amazing things. She and her husband worked together. They invented radium, and they found out that radium could be used to x-ray people and to treat cancer. Although her husband died from cancer because he was around a cancer-causing material all the time, it was later used as treatment for cancers, and she actually saw that in her lifetime. Her husband and her spent a lot of time until his death together in the lab, so you'll see a lot of pictures of them together. We're going to rotate shapes in a plane around a point. Rotations always occur around a point. We're going to use the degrees 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270 degrees, and 360 degrees to know how many times to rotate a shape around a point. And we're going to use directionality, or directions, the directions of right, left, clockwise, and counterclockwise to know which way to rotate a shape around a point. So in a rotation, again, our vocabulary, you must write this down. Rotation moves a figure around a point. See, those are great pictures of them working in the lab together. My husband and I do all these videos together, so I know how much fun it is to work with your spouse when you're doing your work. Okay, here's our first example. First of all, we're going to rotate that triangle. See the triangle? It says start here. We're going to rotate triangle ABC 180 degrees clockwise. What you need to know to do that is that you can see the point that I drew where my actually drew an x-axis and a y-axis right along my point of rotation, so that it would be easier to know when I've rotated at 90 degrees and when I've rotated at 180 and when I've rotated at 270. Clockwise means that you rotate in the direction of the second hand on the clock. The way that clock hands move is the way you would actually rotate clockwise. The great thing is, if you're taking a test, they never cover the clock, so you can always check out which way is clockwise, and counterclockwise is the opposite way. So we're going to make some rotations happen here, starting at, this would be 0 degrees, where the triangle right here lines up with the y-axis. The y-axis that I've created. It really helps if you always draw perpendicular lines. Tuck your shape right into those perpendicular lines and have the point be the point of origin, and it really makes rotations easier. So when I'm looking at point C, notice when I rotate it, point C stays right there at the point of origin all the time. This is my 0 degrees of rotation. When I rotate it 1/4 turn, 1/4 of a turn, that's rotating at 90 degrees clockwise. And I start, so to do that, I would take my shape. Here it is, 1, 2.5 up, 2.5 up on the y-axis. So I'm going to go across this axis and go 1, 2.5. That's my new point A, okay? B, on the other hand, goes up 1, 2, 3, 4. So along this axis, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And now my triangle looks like this. That's rotating it 90 degrees. To rotate it 90 degrees more, because 90 plus 90 is 180, I'm going to start from here to putting my point A here was 90 degrees. So now I'm going to take my point A. Remember, it was 2.5 up on that axis. So I'm going to go 1, 2.5. This is my new point A. I think I'm going to change to a green pen. Oops. So you can see that better. This is my new point A. And now my new point B, remember we counted, it was 1, 2, 3, 4. So along this axis it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my point B. And when I connect them, that is, I am really awful at drawing lines in the bamboo tablet. That is rotating at 90 degrees. It started here. Rotating that A to here was 90 degrees. And rotating that A to here is rotating at 180 degrees. So really, if you draw that, if you have a piece of grid paper on a test and you had your shape right here, if you turn your paper clockwise 90 degrees and then clockwise 180 degrees, however that shape now looks, that's what your shape should look like on your grid. So we're going to do this figure first. I want you to rotate this figure 90 degrees counterclockwise. You may need to go back to the last slide to remind yourself what that means. And this is my point of origin right here, that my point of rotation that I'm going to draw my perpendicular lines on. So go ahead and draw your perpendicular lines around that and then rotate it 90 degrees counterclockwise and pause it and push play when you're done. Okay, you're probably done. So I drew my perpendicular lines right through my point of rotation. That point of rotation is always where your perpendicular lines intersect. So, and you could draw arrows on the end of them. This is just a guide for me so that I know when I've rotated it the right amount. So I'm rotating at 90 degrees. Remember, 90 degrees is 1/4 turn. So if this shape is, and I didn't put any letters on it because you're kind of getting a feel for what it looks like. It's hugging this y-axis right here. It's right up next to it on the left side. So it's going to be just underneath this, because if I turn my paper 90 degrees counterclockwise, it should look exactly like what it looks here. And when you have your paper in class, you can turn it to see that. So I'm going to count up 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to count across now. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is my new corner point. That's this point right here. And then obviously it goes just across one right here. And then this one is 1 across, so that'll be right here. So my new figure, maybe we should color it blue. My new figure rotated 90 degrees counterclockwise, which means the opposite direction of the hands of a clock, should look like this. It's really easy to check if you have a test booklet or a worksheet that you're doing. Go ahead and try figure B now. We're going to rotate the figure 270 degrees clockwise. Pause it and push play when you're ready. Okay, you should have worked your problem in the grids in your flip journal. So this is my point of rotation. So I'm going to draw my perpendicular lines going right. That's a beautiful straight line. This up and down line will not look like that. Right through that point of rotation. I'm going to actually change my color of pen so that you can see my shape. If this shape, I'm going 270 degrees clockwise, so I'm going to move it 90 degrees at a time. If it hugs this axis, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up, then I'm going to move it 90 degrees, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then it's 3 away from that axis, so I'm going to count out 3, 1, 2, 3. And then it comes right back to the point of rotation. So my new figure, this is rotated 90 degrees. Because it's 1/4 turn, I've only moved it 1 axis over. Now we're going to move it 180 degrees. So remember, we're counting up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll count 5 along this axis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we went 1, 2, 3 over. So we'll go 1, 2, 3 over here. This is a 180 degree rotation clockwise. So you can see my shape looks the same. It's hugging each axis in the same way. So it's going to look the same here too. We're going to count down actually 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ooh, I'm right on my x-axis. 1, 2, 3 across. Connect them. And then I'm going to go to my point of origin right there, my point of rotation. And this would be a 270 degree rotation. When I add 90 more degrees to that, I end up at the original point, which is also rotating this figure around 360 degrees. There's my starting point. There's a 90 degree rotation, a 180 degree rotation clockwise, and a 270 degree rotation clockwise. And this would be all the way 360 degrees in a full circle around the point of rotation. So it's time to challenge yourself. It doesn't look like there's much there. I think that symbol is the caution symbol for radon, so you know it's hazardous. You're not supposed to spend too much time around that, just like we don't use x-ray machines on people all the time. There's our grid with our x and y axes. You can already see I've already drawn the perpendicular lines for you. And we are going to rotate this figure 270 degrees counterclockwise. Use the grids in your flip journal. Have some fun with that. Come back and we'll check it tomorrow in class. Finishing up, it's always cool to get your name on a stamp. I said it's always cool to have your picture on a coin, and Larissa put it on a coin for me. So I have a coin that's worth $100. I think that's really cool. Review your learning goals. Have you mastered all of them? Do you need some more practice on this? You know you're going to be practicing it all the next day when you come back to class tomorrow. So don't worry if you still have some things you need to work out. But if you know what's hard for you, write your questions down in your flip journal. Rotations rock. You've completed lessons 19-3 on rotations. I can't wait to see you tomorrow.